This is Digital Wanderlust. The next landscape is that of Rohan, which in this game spans 3 levels. The first of these is the Plains of Rohan. 10 AD, roughly. If you thought it was hard to pin down an influence of Fangorn Forest, there is still much debate as to what influenced Tolkien's Rohan. I've decided to focus on one of these possible influences, the Anglo-Saxon poem Beowulf. They left then the well-made ship, pulling at its rope. On the gold-adorned helmets, figures of boars shone, those guards over warlike minds. The men excitedly marched until they saw that ornamented hall, the finest building on earth, that glittered light over many lands, where the mighty one waited. Tolkien artist John Howe once said of Rohan that it was Beowulf with horses, and the similarities between this old poem and Tolkien's writings are well documented. I myself have a personal connection to this story, it being the first bit of acting I ever did, as a child playing the narrator in a school production of Beowulf. It was obviously a heavily abridged version. 1954, The Two Towers, J.R.R. Tolkien, Book 3, Chapter 2, The Riders of Rohan. At the bottom they came with a strange suddenness on the grass of Rohan. It swelled like a green sea up to the very foot of the Emyn Muil. The falling stream vanished into a deep growth of cresses and water plants, and they could hear it tinkling away in green tunnels, down long gentle slopes towards the fens of the Entwash Vale far away. They seemed to have left winter clinging to the hills behind. Here the air was softer and warmer and faintly scented, as if spring was already stirring and the sap was flowing again in herb and leaf. Legolas took a deep breath, like one that drinks a great draught, after long thirst in barren places. "Ah, the green smell," he said. "It is better than much sleep. Let us run." 2002, The Two Towers, Peter Jackson.
Edoras, and the golden hall of Meadowseld. There dwells Theoden, king of Rohan, whose mind is overthrown. Saruman's hold over King Theoden is now very strong.
In the book, the Plains of Rohan are kind of described as prairie land, and we actually don't have that in New Zealand. There's nothing in New Zealand that really matches that, and the best we could find for Rohan was a slightly more dramatic landscape in a place called Poolburn.
Poolburn's on the South Island. It's a beautiful, incredibly rugged, rocky terrain formed through volcanic action.
And it really broke up the flatness of the land and really gave it a nice, unique look. Those locations for when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are chasing after the Uruk-hai, which are these amazing locations down on the South Island, which really has a lot of those great views of the expanse.
2002, The Two Towers, Electronic Arts. Teaming up with Gandalf the White on our way to Edoras, we plunged straight into a burning village to protect the locals from the attacking Uruk-hai. It's pretty mad here, surrounded by the skeletons of burning buildings and screaming villagers. Gandalf buggers off and we have to work our way through, around, up and over the burning buildings, taking out Uruk-hai as we go. Although we explore the village in quite innovative ways, it does get quite repetitive. This, I feel, is because of the time limit put onto you to save the villagers. I would have quite liked to have had the opportunity to explore it a bit more.
In Rohan, the actual game level itself looks and feels very much like the film locations in terms of lighting, the shape of the architecture, the people who are there, but we actually build upon that and create areas of the level for the player to explore and fight in that they perhaps didn't see in the film.
Whilst the landscape of Fangorn was embroiled in claustrophobia, here on the Plains of Rohan it is in fragility, a fragility born from the meeting of brittle wood and grass. In Beowulf we have a landscape of glittered light, in Tolkien's book a delicate green smell, which in the film and game becomes a golden straw colour. Undercutting this is the flammability of these features, exploited by the Uruk-hai who scorched the land. This is the real tragedy of this level, and the fact that the original Anglo-Saxon poem itself narrowly avoided being burned acts as an interesting coincidence when fighting back the flames in this level. For the second Rohan level, we team up with what looks to be Éomer, the nephew of Theoden, king of Rohan. Together we make our way across the Westfold, taking out the Uruk-hai and their explosive weaponry. Now this is an odd level, as it is a moment that does not occur at all in both the book and film. However, if we just focus on the landscape, then it is possible to establish links. 1954, The Two Towers, Book 3, Chapter 5, The White Rider. For many hours they rode on through the meads and riverlands. Often the grass was so high that it reached above the knees of the riders, and their steeds seemed to be swimming in a grey-green sea. They came upon many hidden pools and broad acres of sedge, waving above wet and treacherous bogs. But Shadowfax found the way, and the other horses followed in his swath. Slowly the sun fell from the sky down into the west. Looking out over the great plain, far away, the riders saw it for a moment, like a red fire sinking into the grass. Low upon the edge of sight, shoulders of the mountains glinted red upon either side. A smoke seemed to rise up and darken the sun's disk to the hue of blood, as if it had kindled the grass as it passed down under the rim of the earth. "There lies the gap of Rohan," said Gandalf. "It is now almost due west of us." 2002, The Two Towers, Peter Jackson.
It's true you don't see many dwarf women. And in fact, they are so alike in voice and appearance that they're often mistaken for dwarf men. It's the beards. And this in turn has given rise to the belief that there are no dwarf women, and that dwarfs just spring out of holes in the ground. Which is, of course, ridiculous. All right, nobody panic. It was deliberate.
And it's like this wonderful, huge vistas of, nothing, no power poles, houses, nothing as far as the eye can see. Just this, like, epic John Ford sort of landscape.
Our location scouts found this neat place in the South Island called Pulburn Lake.
On the edge of the lake is where Peter laid out the Westfold village, which is the Rohan village that eventually gets attacked by the wild men.
We first visited that location in the middle of winter. I remember we went by helicopter, and the lakes were actually frozen over to some degree. I remember us throwing stones on the lakes and kind of thinking, oh well, we don't want to come back here during winter. And we didn't. We actually were there during summer. Along the shores of the lake are these batches or huts that are used as a really weekend retreat, a place to go with your buddies and go fishing, because fishing in that lake is great.
2002, The Two Towers, Electronic Arts. Essentially, this level is a more expansive and explosive version of the previous level. Still, in Rohan, we approach another village, careful to selectively pick off the enemy's explosive items from a distance. The major difference here, though, is the presence of water, in the forms of fjords and pools which we both splash and wade through. However, whilst in the previous level we welcome the presence of water in its ability to quell the fires, here it slows us down, and, in a similar vein to Fangorn Forest, conceals enemies beneath. If the previous level concerned a slow burning of a landscape, here we have one that is exploding. The hidden pools and rising smoke Tolkien speaks of are brought to the forefront. Electronic Arts crowbar in a new addition to the story, providing us with an opportunity to battle on the plains of Rohan, rather than using it as a landscape that has to be passed through fleetingly. After leaving Edoras with King Theoden and the whole of his people, we are ambushed by a pack of wargs from Isengard. In a similar vein to the previous level, this part of the story does not appear in Tolkien's book, and was added by Jackson for the film. 1954, The Two Towers, Book 3, Chapter 7, Helm's Deep. The sun was already westering as they rode from Edoras, and the light of it was in their eyes, turning all the rolling fields of Rohan to a golden haze. There was a beaten way, northwestward along the foothills of the White Mountains, and this they followed, up and down in a green country, crossing small swift streams by many fords. Far ahead and to their right the misty mountains loomed, ever darker and taller they grew as the miles went by. The sun went slowly down before them. Evening came behind. 2002, The Two Towers, Peter Jackson.
Any part of the movie at all that is from the point that they leave Edoras to the point that they arrive at Helm's Deep, that entire journey of the refugees, all of that is done at Deer Park Heights, which is just right outside Queenstown. It's literally 5 minutes drive from a very large city, and there's all sorts of amazing stuff up there. You don't see any civilization.
And it's very accessible, it's a very practical location, and it's also anywhere you stand there, you've just got the Southern Alps, the Remarkables, just rocketing straight up. Anywhere you point a camera at Deer Park Heights, you get a sensational backdrop.
Everyone that doesn't know New Zealand particularly and doesn't know that area assumes that lovely shot of the Rohan refugees walking around the edge of the lake, that's very much a digitally enhanced background, but in fact it's exactly what's there. This stunning mountain range just covered in a light dusting of snow.
(2002) The Two Towers, Electronic Arts. Beginning in a burning village, we managed to slay some of the Wargs, before being split up again to face the rest of the pack ourselves. This is the most boring level of the entire game, a lazy boss battle in which we chip away at the Wargs who attack us. An interesting thing to note, however, is that whilst water slowed us down in the previous level, here it acts as a means to deter the Wargs from attacking us. A comparatively smaller level than the others, in terms of distance travelled, here Middle-earth gets a little claustrophobic. Beginning with us being hemmed in by a burning village and 3 Wargs, we are then split up from our fellowship and subsequently contained within a square area that fits the screen neatly. We're essentially crowbarring some order into the film's action set piece, which to be honest, doesn't really work.